for the first time, Vidhan Sada is being open for a guided tour, right? Um, a lot of people remember Vidhan Sada as a majestic structure that they could always access it on the steps and all of that, right? But I think over time, security and protocol, I think it's been guarded. But what has now happened is for the first time that you're able to do a guided tour and understand the workings of Vidhan Sada.
What made them suddenly decide to open it up?
So this was in one of the conversations with the secretary. Uh, we suggested this to them that why don't we open up Vidhan Sada to the public, and they really thought it was a lovely idea because she talked about her own personal experience of going to the Parliament House in Canberra in Australia, which is underground, and the whole ethos is people should be able to walk over the legislators, right? And Rashtrapati Bhavan being open to public was another factor. But I think after that, I think a lot of consultation, a lot of discussions within, and they felt that I think it will be a lovely idea to open up Vidhan Sauda so that people can come and engage. So that's the background.
Best example I can think of is the public archives, which sits in the Vidhan Sauda. I try to access it for some work. You have to go meet the department that handles archives, and then they'll give you one 3-page form on paper. You have to fill that, and then you have to produce your ID proof, your address proof, where you work, what you do, all of that, and then it'll go there, and then the principal secretary has to, there's a bunch of bureaucratic procedure, and at the end of it I'm like, you know what, this is not so important, let's leave it, it's fine. Is it possible that they build something around Vidhan Sauda in a way that at least the archives is accessible?
So I think one on the building, right? I remember maybe my vintage, right, in school. Yeah, very much, right? Like with my dad and my sister walking up and walking around. And I'm sure if you go back another generation, I think security wasn't really a concern, right? I think it's also events that have led to this. I think the parliamentary tax is the biggest reason, right? How can it be done? Of course, I think that's up for debate, right, in terms of security. But I think that's the evolution of that public structure. You see a lot of beautiful pictures, I'm sure, in the archives, even in your articles, that people are really hanging around all over. So I think that's also a timeline in terms of after a certain point,
For sure.
that is security, right? That's one. And second, the archives are definitely hear you, right? There's public archives, and why can't you access it? And that's something that even I got because there's been a lot of misuse of archives in terms of land records. Right, a lot of people have come and accessed it, and now, which is why they've gotten very strict in the last few years. I think, which is what people at the archives told me. But you also have the archives in MySearch, you can easily access because of land records. They've had challenges there.
What is inside the Vidhan Sabha? Like, what is? I've just found out that they have public archives. It sounds. Is it a huge room with like thousands of papers? What I'm
Yeah.
imagining.
Yeah.
She said, let me just talk about the building and the structure, right? He said, as an architect growing up, we never really fancied Vidhan Sauda because for us it was like what Le Corbusier built in Chandigarh or what Lutyens built in Delhi, right? We never really looked up to Vidhan Sauda. But she said, it's only off late I really get that it's our identity. So I think really there's a story in terms of architecture, and I think why it stands, right? That's one. For me personally, it's really the story of Kengal Hanumantaya and his dream and what it really took for him to get the structure up against all odds, taking on Nehru, his own cabinet, all of it. I think that for me is an absolutely fascinating story about the building, right? And I think what is in the building, it's an office space, right? So of course there are cabinet rooms and conference rooms and offices, etc. And I think really depends on how you view it.
Especially, I think the first thing that caught my attention was the designs on the ceiling, right? Like just the amazing artwork that is in every corner of Vidhan Sauda. And all of that is repainted every year with the same original colors. They bring in Gudigas to do a lot of maintenance of the wooden carvings and the artwork that are in the assembly hall. And if you look at comparisons to the Mysore Palace, for example, it's larger than that, right? Like, and coincidentally, it's also larger than Taj Mahal, right? Like, it's a gigantic building, and you feel the scale every step you take, right? Like, it's at no point you feel like this is a regularly scaled building, right? And that is exactly what they wanted to do, like build this palace for the people. And of course, things have happened in such a way that people are somehow kept outside, right? So,
It's a PWD building. The Public Works Department built it, right? Yeah. So and this is the best part, right? Where
I didn't know that. I thought Manik.
Manik,
We are Manikyam,
yeah,
yeah.
Manikyam was the chief
Oh.
engineer,
Yeah.
right? And so much there was so much pressure that to bring down costs, that Kengal Hanumanthaya got 5,000 prisoners from the central jail
Yeah,
to
this
come
is my
work on
this
it
is my
and-
favorite fact.
Yeah, and all of that, right? So imagine it's a public works department building, right? They've built something like that. So I think those are bits that, like I said, yeah, we wouldn't know. And
Just to add on to that, right? Like the first reaction would be, oh, free labor. But at the same time, these guys got released right after finishing of the construction, right?
When was the first time you went into Vidhan Sabha? And just like walk me through that. I've never been, and I'm really excited to now have the opportunity to go one day. But I'd like to hear the story.
yeah, so I mean, the first time, I think when I was a kid, I remember my dad and my sister, and for some reason we went inside, and there was really nobody stopping you. And I also remember very, very vividly that my dad asked me and my sister to hang in there, and he took a walk around. And I'm guessing he wanted because the moment you get there, you'll be very curious to see, okay, so whose office is this and where's the legislator? You're just very curious about it. It's like going into a library and looking for your favorite books, right? So that's my first recollection of going to Vidhan Sabha. But I think for this project, last year in July is when we had the first discussion, and after that, sometime in August, September, they called us in, and I think we did a whole tour of the Vidhan Sabha just to understand how it works and all of that. So I think sometime last year I went a couple.
So one thing we know is earlier when we look at the foundation stone, so the foundation stone that was set up was not set up for the current Vidhan Sabha, right? Not the building that you see here. So the earlier idea was to build something really functional, a square building. In fact, the best they want to do is like just a very European functional, enough rooms for all departments of the government, right? And there's a story of a Russian delegate that comes down. I can't remember the name of the lady right now. And they come in, and Kengal Hanumanthaya is giving a tour of Bangalore. And halfway through the tour, the lady is clearly unimpressed. She says, hey, lots of lovely buildings, lots of parks, trees, all of that is great. But all the buildings that we saw were colonial. All of these are very British buildings. Do you not have your own architecture? Right? So Kengal he is a proud guy, right? Like you hear his story, the things he has done, arrested 7 times during the freedom struggle. And when he was asked like, hey, how was the food in the jail? Like we heard it's really bad. He was like, yeah, it's better than the one I got at home. Right? So that's the kind of person he is, right? Like he won't let anyone break his spirit. And he is put with this question that, okay, you're the chief minister of the state, and he is being accused of there being no architecture that is truly local. And he scrapped the plans for the original functional building, and then what we see here today. Right? This was then planned and built over there. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm personally happy that there is a guided tour of some sort that people can sign up and do. But I think it's the beginning, and I'm a hopeful person. I am very optimistic, and especially like when you watch what government does so closely and see things, there are times where you just want to pull your hair out and be like, why is this happening, right? But I'm also a very optimistic and hopeful person that good things happen. I think something like that happening at Vidhan Sabha is so special because you're reclaiming it as a citizen, as a public space. And I think that is very important in a city that will just keep growing. Like wherever you have public land, just go and make sure that it's a public space. And I think that's the difference.
Nice. I think for me, as I said earlier, right, like this is a step in the right direction, and I hear you both in terms of how government buildings need to be publicly accessible. And what I see is like we've gotten this opportunity, a sliver of hope. We've gotten in, and then this is happening, and there is so much good response from the public as well, right? And very well-behaved, responsible citizens coming in, respecting the space. I'm hoping this will give more confidence, and with more voices coming up, government will be more keen on opening up other public spaces and thinking this, right? Like, so right now this is bringing this conversation to the public consciousness, which is a huge win in my opinion. And I want to see that as we go ahead, right? And another small thing I think we didn't address right now was we also train the government guides that are going to be doing it on the weekends, right? And what we
I mean,
saw
not
were
just
like
government guides. I think some students too.
students
software
too, yeah,
engineers,
students to
volunteer
government
guides,
right?
in
Like
fact,
volunteer
yeah.
guides that are doing it. And we had government guides with certification who cleared all sorts of exams with the tourism department, 20 years of experience. So they were able to come in and still be interested in the space, and then seeing how it can be done differently, right? Like rather than sharing the facts about a place, what is the story we can tell about the space? So 100% stories travel way further than what facts might. And now we have the opportunity to do that. And I just want to see this happen in other spaces in a similar way.
And also, the last 3 months, I must say, there's a lot more respect and appreciation in terms of, they are officers and politicians, some of them, that the intent is really there, and you can see that, right? And it is very hard, there's so many opposing, diverse views, and I think to get things moving, I can understand the complexities there. And of course, sometimes we feel that it's not happening the way we wanted, and I feel that. But I think also to see it's not an easy space to operate. Yeah, it was one of the most challenging projects I've worked on, and I think also appreciation and I think some of the aspects of how it works, right? Yeah, I come back to that.
Nice. I would say then congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's a step in the right direction, and it's your quote from our previous video, if I'm not wrong.
What did I say?
Where the closer democracy feels to you, the better it works, and I think so more than the space and the history, which is fascinating, I am excited for how symbolically this is really the opening up of the insides of the government. The Sunday is happening, one day Tuesday will also happen, and one day maybe without guides, the worst citizens will be allowed to roam freely. And that's what you want to see eventually. So it's lovely. Congratulations, and I'm really excited to see this.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Rao. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, Varani and Pratish.
Thanks, Prabha. Thanks, Edmund.
Thanks.
Yeah.